Welcome to the Taylor Compound. I'm John Taylor, and I'm here with two co-hosts, Madison and Becca. And so today we are here specifically to talk all about Zion National Park. We are all adventure enthusiasts here, and we've seen 54 out of 63 national parks. And Zion is one of the most spectacular parks out there with towering cliffs, breathtaking hikes, and narrow slot canyons. It's definitely a must visit, and we have a lot of facts to give you. And we're going to hit you up with some of those fascinating facts and share experiences on two of the most famous hikes, which is Angel's Landing and the Narrows. So let's dive in.
Yeah, so for some general facts, Zion became Utah's first national park in 1919. The park covers 229 square miles, which is larger than Washington, D.C.
Zion gets over 4.5 million visitors a year, so it's one of the busiest national parks in the U.S. It has tons of diversity as far as wildlife goes, including mountain lions, bighorn sheep, and the endangered California condor.
Yeah, it is home to over 1,000 plant species and 400 animal species, so it's a very diverse ecosystem. It's one of the few places that the landscape is constantly changing because the Virgin River is actively carving out the canyons.
The Zion once had massive sand dunes. The Navajo sandstone cliffs that you see today were originally formed over 180 million years ago. And they have seen dinosaur footprints going through there that are at least 200 million years old.
And just some information of getting into the park. The entrance fee is about $35 per car. Peak season is from May to September. About 14,000 to 18,000 people a day go into the park during peak season. So it's definitely a place you want to plan and book ahead. As campgrounds, hotels, they book up fast, and you're going to need some permits from some of these hikes.
So these are really good facts, ladies. Thank you very much. So the one thing that I want to talk about is if you're coming in from Bryce Canyon area, which most people do when I was reading about this, there's a tunnel, and the name of that tunnel is called the Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel. And it's if you have a camper or a vehicle that is higher than 11 feet 4 inches, you're not getting through that tunnel. And if you don't make it through that tunnel, then you're in a situation where you've got to go 3 hours around the entire park to get to the Springdale side, which is where you're going to end up if you go through that tunnel anyways. Most people stay over there. There's not a bad place to stay over there, but we'll get into that as well. And so one of the things that I really want to start to jump into is we're going to talk about this amazing hike, Angel's Landing, right? And so there's millions of people that go to this park. And I would say most of them go specifically for this epic hike. And there's a few facts about this hike. And so I'll let Becca talk about a couple of those real quick.
So permits are now required. There's a lottery system, so make sure you plan ahead. It gets super, super busy. It's one of the most popular hikes probably in the United States. Make sure you get up early and start your hike so that you can avoid both crowds and the heat. And you really want to avoid crowds, like especially on this hike, and we'll get into why later. And actually, I'll get into it right now, because if heights make you nervous, we'll tell you the good stopping point there. But if heights make you nervous, go into Angel's Landing with a lot of caution.
So, Madison, did you have a couple facts you want to put in on Angel's Landing before we dive into our experiences?
Sure. It's a 5.4 mile round trip hike. It'll take about 4 to 5 hours on average to hike it. The start of Angel's Landing is called Grotto's Trailhead. It's about 1.8 miles until you reach the switchbacks called Walter's Wiggles. And then that's about 0.2 miles of the hike. And those are very challenging. I'm usually able to hike up things and not have to take breaks, but I had to take multiple breaks on those switchbacks. they're very steep and challenging for sure.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so this hike is a pretty dangerous hike. And I think, Becca, 18 people have died on this hike. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's 17 confirmed fatalities on this hike, and it's typically on the spine section, which is the chain section. That's what we usually call it, but it's officially named the spine. And it is an extremely steep, narrow, like 2 to 3 foot path with chains and very, very intense 1,000-foot plus drop-offs on either side. It is very scary if you're afraid of heights.
And it's not even the highest peak in the park, but when you are on top of Angel's Landing, you feel like you are on top of the world because of these drop-offs. And so be careful. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is that are just kind of what our experiences were. Like we have, climbed this wonderful hike. There's switchbacks, there's fear, there's excitement. And so, Madison, what was your experience with that?
So when we got to the chains, I was very anxious at first. I don't think I've ever been that high up without being connected to something. So I definitely had high anxiety. I had to put my head against the wall, close my eyes, kind of breathe through that. Once I breathed through that, I was able to enjoy it a bit more. I kind of told myself, if you freak out now, you're going to be on that 18th person go down that drop off. But I was able to calm myself down. I'm really glad I did. It was very rewarding once you got to the top, kind of mentally challenging and physically challenging.
Yeah, this is really an amazing hike. And so to get started, you end up, I would highly recommend to go in the morning, right? And so you are not going to be dealing with too much crowd at that point. And then also, if you go during the summertime, it gets really hot. And so the earlier you go, the better. The first part of this hike, once you'll take the shuttle in from Springdale area. And so once you take that shuttle in, they'll drop you off. There's about a mile to walk to the hike. And then you start heading up switchbacks, and then you get to a flat area, and then you're on the chains. And so, Becca, you want to tell me your experience on Angel's Landing?
Yeah, so I did not think I was afraid of heights at first, actually, because I've done bungee jumping. I've done a lot of things attached to a harness with heights involved. It was totally fine. I was not afraid at all. But something about the moment, it was when we were on Scouts Lookout, which is the platform right before you get to the chains section. I was looking up at it, and I actually said out loud, I went, I can't do that. I need to stay here. I'm like perfectly comfortable here. I can see a very pretty view here. Just leave me. But they definitely pushed me to keep going forward, and I'm glad I did it. But I had a full-blown real deal panic attack on the chains section, which we'll show you some video of what it looks like. It is not good to have a panic attack on that section of the hike. So I would say, honestly, I probably should have stayed at Scouts Lookout, because it's like, it's got to be a hazard to have somebody kneeling down on the trail when it's that narrow. But luckily, everybody else around me seemed to be totally fine with heights. It seemed like I was the only one that was afraid. So people just walked around me. I was like, I don't know how you're doing that.
And Scouts Lookout has amazing views as well. So if you're not able to push yourself and you are afraid of heights, that's a good stopping point as well. Still do the hike, but you don't have to go.
You did so well, Madison. I did not know you were afraid. I feel like my panic somehow, it like made you feel like we can't both be panicking right now. I got to pull it together.
So what I remember about this hike is, so going up so once you get past that kind of first mile walk, getting to the hike, and you get to marvel at the top of it, or just kind of you get to see the entire kind of hike laid out before you. It looks challenging, and it is. And so those switchbacks, there's quite the elevation that you gain during those switchbacks. And at one point we would have to sit down quite often, maybe about every third switchback, and take a break. Now, taking a break on the switchbacks is not a bad thing, because you literally, the higher you go up, each view of this canyon is just completely amazing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And so we got through the switchbacks, and I'll say that young people were passing us. People that were 20 years older than I were passing us. And so I was like, am I out of shape or I don't know. But the stops were not bad. I mean, they're just gorgeous. Every section and every elevation has a different view. And so that part was amazing. And so then you get up to that platform area. What was the name of that?
Scouts Lookout.
Yeah, so Scouts Lookout. And so everybody up at Scouts Lookout, they look like they were taking a break or up
They
there,
have
right?
bathrooms and picnic tables. You can stop and eat your lunch and kind of mentally prepare for the chains.
Yeah, and so I loved that spot. And so just specifically from Scouts Lookout, the elevation is strong there. And so you have the most beautiful views. It's a flat, safe area to be once you get to that point. We laid down with our backpacks. There's some squirrels up there or something like that. What were those things, Becca?
Chipmunks. Tons and tons of chipmunks.
And we were feeding those. You're not supposed to feed them.
Allegedly. Gosh.
You're not supposed to feed them, but we had some granola. We had some granola. And so I remember after sitting there and eating lunch and just kind of just relaxing after those switchbacks to get up to that point, I was laying there and I was feeding this chipmunk, and it bit me. And so I took that as a sign to get up and start going towards the chains, right? And so the area with the chains is the dangerous area. They call it one of the most dangerous hikes in the United States. I think you would have to be just completely not careful for it to be a dangerous hike, but I didn't understand the anxiety that goes along with it. And so as you're walking up this area, there's areas where when you take a step, there's maybe a foot on either side of your foot during that step.
Vertigo. If you get vertigo, oh my goodness. I felt like I lost control of my legs at some point. I was like, go forward.
I got tunnel vision at one point, but
And so I didn't realize they were going through all this until Becca had her little panic attack, right? And so I could see the fear in her eyes, and thank goodness there was like this tree that was sticking out of the side of the mountain. And what a perfect time for her to have this panic attack, because I was able to grab that tree and pull Becca towards the mountain. And I remember saying to her, okay, it's 1,000 foot straight down. I get the panic. We can stay here as long as you like, but once you calm down, please let me know so that we can get off of this specific area.
Yeah, I didn't want to let go of that tree. That tree was my life at that moment.
Yeah, they have chains, and what you're supposed to do is while you're walking up these areas is hold on to those chains. And to me, it was a pretty straightforward hike with gorgeous views, and I was even kind of playing around on the chains where I was hanging off of them, and I think that gave Becca and Madison a little anxiety while I was doing that, right? But once you get to the top, and even before that, it's so hard to describe this hike because it's almost like you're going to a false peak after a false peak after a false peak, because every view is gorgeous. And so we get to the top, and I remember just like a complete peace came over me. Becca was still kind of anxious at that point on top, and I tried to get her to get close to the edge of the mountain just to get some pictures, and she was having nothing of it. But I did get her over there, and we sat there and just looked at that gorgeous canyon. There's so many different colors and the way the sun comes in. And, one special moment for me was I remember when I was up there, this when my mom was alive, and I was up there and I was like, you know what, this is a place that not a lot of people will be able to experience or see if they can't make it up here just due to the physical activity. And I just remember thinking, my mom's never going to see this site. So I took a lot of pictures so I could show her. But what a beautiful, beautiful hike that is. Did you guys have anything to add to that?
It was one of my top 5 favorite hikes we've ever done. Like you said, when I got up there, that wave of peace just hit me. My fear went away. I was able to go up to the edges and take some good pictures. And I think that really helped me get over my fear of heights that I didn't know I had.
Yeah, so it definitely helped it helped make it so that every other hike that I ever went on after that was just not scary in comparison to Angel's Landing. And I think my fear of heights has gradually gone away. If you are looking for an alternative with a similar view, like the views are just as beautiful, go to Observation Point hike, and that'll be a much nicer, easier hike where you can see Zion Canyon without fearing for your life.
And if you're able to push yourself to do it, please do. I mean, my dad liked it so much, he calls Zion Angel's Landing all the time by mistake.
I always make that mistake. So Zion National Park is definitely one of our favorite national parks, and continuing with a couple different facts about Angel's Landing. Before the chains were installed, the hikers used ropes and ladders. Early visitors, which were in the 1920s, would free climb this section of the trail. And so, it just kind of puts it in perspective. We're afraid, and there's chains there to help us. And these people were free climbing. And, I know there's a lot of mountain climbers and people today that do these exciting things. But, for us, this was quite the shock and concern for us, right? And so now that we have conquered Angel's Landing, let's cool off a little bit with one of the most unique hikes in the park and in the world, the Narrows. Becca, do you want to try to hit us up with some facts about the Narrows? The wonderful, wonderful hike that was, too.
Yeah, the Narrows is a slot canyon that is carved out by the Virgin River. The walls go up to over 1,500 feet high in certain places. It's eroding constantly. So an interesting fact about the Narrows section is the canyon walls are constantly getting taller because the Virgin River is constantly cutting a deeper and deeper path.
And this took millions of years, right?
Yes, it did. It took...
You said something about dinosaurs at one point about this.
So, like I was saying about how the park used to have great sand dunes, there were 200 million year old dinosaur tracks found going down the Narrows, and they call it the Dinosaur Highway. And not only that, but it's one of the oldest continuously used trails by dinosaurs, by, I'm sure, tons of other animals after the dinosaurs, by the tribes that lived in Zion National Park, and even up to today.
Yeah. Did you have anything you want to add to that, Madison?
Yeah, so some sections of the hike can be waist to chest deep. Mm-hmm. So definitely bring water pants, bring a hiking stick. If you don't own those, you can rent those. I believe we got them at Zion Outfitters.
Yeah.
And they were able to rent them. They gave us boots and hiking sticks.
That's very important. So don't forget, before you go on this hike, there is a rental place. And so that rental place will give you waterproof boots. They give you neoprene socks, walking sticks. This is also a dangerous hike because you're literally walking through a river that is moving. And that hike can go as far as 16 miles, or we took 6 miles of it. I don't explain why, but you're walking on rounded rocks and some sharp rocks, and you're kind of stumbling through the river, and you're in the Virgin River, and on both sides of you are 1,000-foot cliffs that are just all different colors and gorgeous. And, you'll stop in different areas of the river, and sometimes you'll take 10 minutes just to take in the views. It was just a gorgeous, gorgeous place. Anything else as far as facts go from you two before we get into our experience with this hike?
I would just keep in mind that the Narrows do close for bacteria levels, so just keep an eye out and check the park updates before you hike it.
Yeah, you also want to hike the Narrows from late spring to early fall. If you're going in the springtime or summertime, watch out for snow melt, flash floods, or rain cause flash floods. So always keep your eye out on the NPS website.
Yeah, so part of this hike, so it's kind of the same thing. You want to get up early. This hike gets really crowded, right? At one point, I thought there was like 300 people within eyesight of where we were in the river. If you're staying on the Springdale side, you'll take the shuttle after you get your rental gear. And it's probably a good 30 minutes, maybe 25, 30 minutes is that bus trip. And then and it's a beautiful bus trip because you're going through Zion National Park. And then you'll walk about a mile to get to the river. And then basically you are plunging into the river feet first, right? Hopefully. Madison fell a couple times. And so, and then, what I remember about it, and then I'll switch over to your guys' memories. So a couple things that I thought stuck out for me is that, one, you get in the river, it's cold. Even in the summertime, the river is moving and it's cold. And so be prepared for that. I remember like the being in the river, and then kind of the side walls were just, it's all these different colors of 1,000-foot steep, walls. And, they must have gone through tons of carving during those millions of years, because every color on the rainbow is in those walls. There's one stop where we stopped for a unique picture just because of like tiger stripes that were on the wall. I thought that was interesting as well. And so did you have anything to share about your experience with this hike?
So I feel like for some reason, the Narrows is not quite as clear in my memory as Angel's Landing is. I feel like I was recovering from Angel's Landing. I do remember it being very cold, and I remember it being very pretty. And I remember people like the huge crowds, but we were all kind of shuffled into certain areas because it would get super, super deep out of nowhere. And everybody was like, oh, no, don't walk there. It's going to go over your waders if you tried to get into the middle of the river, because it is getting deeper, both due to erosion and increased snow melt, increased precipitation in the area. So some of the areas get up to 10 feet deep, and that is definitely way above your head.
Yeah, this is a hike also that if you start from the bottom up, you don't have to have a permit. And if you go from the top down, which is the 16-mile hike, that does require a permit. Anything you can remember from that hike? How about that fall you took, Madison?
I just remember I fell a few times. I'm very clumsy. That's where the water pants came in handy. I didn't get any water but my britches. I do want to do that again, just a little bit more prepared, because I remember it was really hot that day, but I didn't take into account once we got into the canyon and water how cold it would be. So I think I'd prepare a little bit better that way, but it was just gorgeous and one of the most unique hikes I've ever done.
Yeah, so a couple of other things that we can talk about is just a few facts that some people might want to know about. One of Zion's oldest trees is over 1,500 years old. Ancient bristlecone pines still stand in some of the remote parts of this park. And so there's lots of different hikes in the park. I think Becca had a couple of those because we were just really getting in deep on the, with the Narrows, getting in deep with the Narrows, and then also getting high with Angel's Landing. All right, go ahead.
Inappropriate.
Had to throw that one in.
So I wanted to bring up Kolob Canyons in northwest Zion. So it's very much so less crowded, especially these days, but it's just as beautiful. Some people say that the red rock cliffs and the canyons there are even more dramatic than in the more popular places of Zion. So it's a 5-mile scenic drive that goes through the canyons, and it's also home of the Kolob Arch, which is one of the largest arches in the world. It's 287 feet across. There's a hike there called the Timber Creek Overlook Trail, which is a 1-mile round trip hike with panoramic views. It is a part of a secret underground cave system in Zion National Park, of which there is hundreds of unexplored caves, undocumented caves. They have rare microorganisms that are not found anywhere else in the entire world. And in 2018, in Kolob Canyon specifically, they found a rare stalactites and ancient petroglyphs in a huge underground cavern. So I think it's worth checking out.
That's fascinating. Yeah. So one of the things, back to Angel's Landing real quick, just for preparation, that hike takes about 4 to 5 hours. And if you stop just to recover from fear. It could take more. And so getting there early is very important. The other thing is on the Narrows, we talked about the water being cold. And I remember that we stopped, we had planned to do, I think, 12 miles. We ended up stopping at 6 miles because I think Madison was getting uncomfortable with the cold. I was trying to push through it because I was just so distracted by the views. But we ended up coming back early from that hike. And still, I mean, think about it. You're walking 6 miles through a river. Every site is beautiful, but that's not a fast hike. That literally took us probably 4 or 5 hours as well to do that. And so anything else you guys would like to add?
Yeah, if you're looking to do some fairly easy short hikes as well, you can do the Watchman Trail. That's about a 3-mile round trip hike. And it's just gorgeous views once you're up there looking into the canyon. And then there's the canyon hike. That's about 1 mile total out and back trail. Very unique, beautiful hikes. And those are just some more easy hikes you can do rather than Angel's Landing or the Narrows if you don't get around to those.
I think you've been hiking in Zion National Park too long when you start calling flat ground boring, right? There's my joke of the day. That was terrible.
I don't get it.
Worst joke ever.
It's
Where did you find that?
That was the worst one. And so, anyway, so I think that's a good rounded view. So a couple things also, if you stay in Angel's Landing, if you're on, what's the side that we stayed on, the name of that town again?
Springdale.
Yeah.
Utah.
So Springdale, there's, a bunch of hotels there. There's not a bad place you can stay. And so just find a hotel. We went through with the camper because our camper fit through that tunnel to get straight through. We stopped, there's not a lot of people that get to drive it. So when you get to drive through it, we stopped multiple times. You'll see pictures of us standing by the camper, just marveling at the edges and how beautiful this park was. But once we got to Springdale, for some reason, I can't remember why, we decided not to stay in the camper, which we had done all the way across country from Virginia to get here. And we ended up staying at a hotel. Maybe at that time, it was maybe a Hilton property. I walked through so many of the hotels just kind of looking at them because, they're all on a row. And every view from every hotel is beautiful. And if you like to adventure like we do, right, then that's just the bed that you need. And so I think we can start to close this out unless you guys have anything else you'd like to add.
No, Zion was one of my favorite national parks that we've ever done. That's definitely a park I want to go back to and experience again. Just incredible views, challenged myself. Definitely would go back and do that one again.
Yeah, I think I'd like to go back and try Angel's Landing like one more time and see what happens. Might be a good idea, might not be.
So that was fun reliving that national park because it's literally one of my favorites as well. And so I'm glad that we got to talk about this again. I want to thank both of my co-hosts. It was so fun revisiting this national park, and doing this show helps us relive it. And so thank you for listening, and thank you for both of my co-adventurers for being a part of this show. Zion National Park is truly one of the most beautiful places and incredible places on the earth. And it's one of our favorites. Whether you're gripping the chains at Angel's Landing, or you're wading through the Narrows, or just soaking up the views, I can tell you it's an adventure that you will never forget. Thanks for tuning in to the Taylor Compound. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and stay tuned for more national park adventures. Until next time, keep exploring.